What's the difference between saving and hoarding? Let's talk about that when it comes to your finances right now. Welcome back to the Banking Bros podcast. I'm one of your hosts, JDew.
And I'm Jonah.
We're talking a little bit about the good book today, Jonah. We're going to take it back 2,000 plus years to the scriptures.
There we go.
And we're going to have a conversation here about what savings really is, what is investing, what is hoarding even.
Okay.
And we've got some inspiration from a book that I'm reading right now. I'll do more on that, ladies and gentlemen, in a different YouTube video. So find us at YouTube, at the Banking Bros channel, for more insights on that particular book. We're going to be a little bit more general today, but we were definitely inspired, and so is the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you believe that.
Well, there's a book that I purchased, so this is going to be crazy. Not really. People are going to relate to this. I bought a book and then didn't read it.
Is that the part we're supposed to?
Well, yeah.
Surprises?
I mean, yeah, but people aren't going to do that. I realized when I was about to say that, but people are going to do that. I didn't read it. I started the book, but then it was, you ever opened a book and you're like, wow, this is a little bit more
too
dense.
much.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Once or twice.
I thought it was going to be a little easier.
I thought it was. I was going to use this to just go to sleep at night.
Yeah, and
turns out I'm going to have to think too hard.
And that book was Business Secrets from the Bible.
Yep.
Which I think is sitting around here in the office somewhere. I need to bring it back out, see if I can stomach it this time. But that was on my mind when you were bringing up the book you were reading, and we were thinking about doing this podcast episode with what in the world does the Bible have to say about money?
Yeah.
Right? We can get some good insight from it. Let's dive in and look.
So what's interesting about the Bible's take on money, possessions, wealth creation, generational wealth, it's all in there. We encourage you, just like Nelson Nash's book, The Bible for Banking, we actually encourage you to read and reflect, or in church, they might say meditate on the principles of Scripture as well, that the Bible has a lot to say about money. It says more about money than heaven and hell.
Does it?
And it says a lot more about hell than heaven. Did you know that?
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're supposed to focus on hell exactly, but it had a lot to say.
Just letting you know what's going on.
Just like we don't write the mail, we just deliver it. Okay, so we're going to go to the New Testament scripture. So the New Testament in the book of Luke. I'm going to focus on that in the other video. Another shout to that video. Go there very soon. But the book of Luke has several different stories and parables. And parables are like fables.
Yep.
Where I think Jesus is always one
made up stories to teach a lesson.
Yeah, like Aesop's fables, right? We got town mouse and country mouse or whatever. So Jesus is telling a story to help followers, disciples, apostles understand, like, the kingdom of God is like a sower who went forth to sow. So these, like, we're trying to figure out the ethereal, the eternal, but, like, you got to break it down for us like we down here.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so Luke, the Gospel of Luke in the New Testament has several things to say. And first, we're going to talk about hoarding, because we talk about saving money all the time on this podcast.
We do.
Putting money in a place where it's going to be safe, where it could grow, where there's going to be some guarantees of liquidity, something like that. But what's hoarding? Jonah, why don't you give us a little bit of, we got some references here in Luke chapter 12. Help us understand how you would define hoarding and what the Bible has to say.
Yeah. So I think the definition here, or what we'd want to focus on this morning, is hoarding is this accumulation of wealth or possessions just for the sake of security. Right? And that's the key here. Not accumulation of wealth and possessions so you can bless others and give them away and help your charity or church. It's for the sake of security, which the idea behind that, of course, is going to change your focus on what you're actually supposed to be doing with the wealth and the possessions in the first place.
Well, yeah, because, of course, money is not wealth.
Right.
Wealth is what money will do for you and other people.
Right.
Right? So wealth is what, because we don't really want the money. We want the food. We want the clothes. We want the ability to transact and find good ideas out there and things like that. That's different. So actually, wealth has the feeling and the idea, opposite of hoarding, that the money you have is actually moving around.
Yeah.
It's moving around.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the money's the security now.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're actually shooting for, right? We talk about that pretty often when we are on this podcast and we talk about, or we're in person doing presentations, we talk about it's not actually the money that you want. It's the stuff that the money gets you that you're actually interested in, right? Mm-hmm. I could have a pile of money right here, or very similarly, right? There's a big game show going on Amazon right now.
Love it.
Where they've got $5 million locked up in a glass container. So you can see it. But if you were available to live right next to the $5 million locked in the glass container, but you could not break the glass or get into the glass, it's not the money that you actually want.
That's funny that you say that, because I was watching. So what we're talking about, for those of you who are listening to us, January, first quarter of 2025, Jonah is referencing Mr. Beast. Okay, so Mr. Beast, the biggest dude on YouTube. Now he's taken over Amazon. He's got the Beast Games. Beast Games is giving away $5 million. For those of you who don't watch and haven't seen it, you should. It's really fascinating of what this guy's been doing. So I watch him all the time. And I watched the behind-the-scenes making of it, and all these contestants who get eliminated from the show. It starts out with 1,000 people, it's eliminating down to one person, goes through all his goofy games, and it's going to win $5 million.
Yep.
They're making YouTube videos. Lots of them are making videos, showing up on podcasts and things like that about their experience.
Yep.
And at one section, the majority of people end up, about half of the 1,000 that start, they go to this remote community. Mm-hmm. It looks like he built it off of Las Vegas. Do you know where it is?
No, I don't know where it is.
It looks like it might be outside of the city.
Maybe.
In Henderson or Las Vegas or something. I don't know. But anyway, they keep talking about, well, there's $5 million literally in this community sitting in the middle of it.
Yep.
But it's no good to them because you can't buy anything. I don't need the money while I'm here. The food is free. They're taking care of my housing. We're stuck here. We can't go anywhere. We can't use our phones. Things like that they were talking about during that. But was it in Canada?
It's in Canada, Toronto, Canada.
Interesting. Okay, so B City is in Canada. But the money, hoarding the money, putting it there, that's a great example, John. I'm glad you said it. It doesn't help you.
Don't help.
Because you can't do anything with it.
Can't do it. It's not actually the money you want. It's the things that the money gets you. And so this idea of hoarding is, well, I'm now going to stockpile, accumulate, keep, hold all this money so I feel safe and secure. When in reality, we are supposed to use the money to do things with. And especially if you're looking from, whether you're looking at the actual Bible and what they're saying in there, or you're reading books like Business Secrets from the Bible by Rabbi Lapin, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Rabbi Lapin, or the book that Jeremiah will mention here in just a second. You're supposed to accumulate and work hard and get the money so you can then use it to help others, right? Those are churches, those are charities, those are friends, those are neighbors, those are family. And so that's the reason that we'd want to accumulate, not just so we feel safe and secure, but so we can bless others.
Yeah.
So
money's got to move. So money in motion.
It's a mindset thing, the difference between hoarding and accumulation, or hoarding and savings. It's actually all about what's happening, between your ears.
Now, what's interesting about that, Jonah, is I've got to confess, since we're talking about the Bible here, so let me give a confession. I think my scarcity mindset for many years, single, married, was actually putting me in a hoarding frame of reference.
Sure.
I was actually hoarding because I was always so scarcity mindset
that I won't have enough.
That I didn't have enough.
Not as I would.
Well, I got to be careful about that because God was always taking care of my needs, but I felt like I'm broke, so I need to keep money somewhere. And I think before you start to educate yourself to the next level, probably for a lot of you out there, it's natural. Let us know in the comments. Shoot us back. Do you actually think putting money in a pile is what the goal is? And unfortunately, we talk about this all the time, but not from the biblical perspective, that many people have this nest egg mentality. And I think that is potentially leaning us toward, as a culture, hoarding.
Yep.
because we can't use the money. We may not live that long. It's going to be taxed later. You're not going to be able to get to it. The money's not flowing. And then you realize you didn't have enough anyway.
Yep.
So you're still in the scarcity mindset because you're probably going to run out because you're living way past retirement age. So anyway, let's get into it here. Luke chapter 12. I'm going to read something for you, Jonah.
I'm ready.
And he told them a parable. So this is the Lord. The land of a rich man produced plentifully. Mm-hmm. And he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul is required of you. You're not just a body with a soul, Jonah, as they say. You are a soul with a body.
That's right.
Okay. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. So that's the parable that Jesus said. The words are in red on my phone. Y'all know how that works, right?
Yep.
And so what we're realizing here is some of us, including you out there and me personally, we got to talk about the difference between what we're advocating and hoarding. And I think there's plenty of people out there who are actually already in a hoarding mindset, and they might be just thinking, we're going to trade one hoarding facility, one barn, for another, like the rich man did, by putting it in maybe the vehicles of insurance. But we're actually talking about a cash flow system.
That's right.
It's all about code cracking cash flow. That's our motto here at the Cash Compound, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, if you want to talk about a cash conversation in your life, how you can get it to grow and flow for the rest of your whole life, guaranteed, you want to be on a one-on-one coaching call with Jonah or I or some of our other coaches at the Cash Compound. What we're going to do is we're going to walk and talk you through what your goals are and how you're personally planning to achieve those goals and what you're using in tool format out there in the world to get there. We've got some questions that may challenge your thinking. So click saveandspendsystem.com. Go there, watch our full Save and Spend System video, and then get on our calendar. We'd love to talk to you soon.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that I appreciate insurance is because it's this idea that at the end of our whole life, this money's going to pass to the next generation, right? So it kind of gets you out of this hoarding mindset because I know I've got money passing. And so it kind of puts responsibility on you now to teach the next person what you did and that it's coming and what they should do. And you don't generally have that if you're not if you're just using the traditional financial vehicles. I don't have this, I almost want to say fiduciary responsibility, right? But I don't have this responsibility to go teach somebody what I did, what I know, when it's coming, what to do with it, if my plan is just to use the 401k system.
That word in the Bible, Jonah, that you just explained is called stewardship.
Right.
Fiduciary is how we might say it in the financial services industry in the Western world, but stewardship. How do I use this and how's it supposed to work?
Yeah, and I think you get into better conversations when you are teaching people what you're doing with the infinite banking system through life insurance, because let's say you help your friend get started with a policy and you've had your policy for a year or two and they're just getting started. They're probably going to ask you a few questions, which means that you've now got the ability to impart on them and share with them a few pieces of wisdom about what you're doing and why you're doing it. I mean, these are very common questions we get all the time. You might be thinking about these questions at home yourself. You know, I'm thinking about getting started with that first policy, but should I get more than one? And if I get more than one, do I insure myself again or do I insure someone else in the family? I mean, these are questions that I get on our first initial kind of conversation all the time. And all of a sudden, you're in this financial stewardship conversation where it's not a hoarding mindset. It's a provide for the next generation, provide for your family, take responsibility mindset immediately.
Agreed. I had a call like that last night. Shout out to our newest person who's join the community out there somewhere. But it was a guy in Minnesota, and he had seen us on TikTok. Okay. Welcome back, TikTok. And he has a daughter. It's him and his daughter. He's in his mid-30s, and he was looking at this opportunity to be able to save, not hoard, but save his money in an environment with guarantees growth and liquidity in this infinite banking system and provide for his 12-year-old. He has a 12-year-old daughter, and I walked him through the mindset. And one of our coaches was on the call training last night, and she was listening in, and I kept asking this guy, it's not about the dollar amount. He realized that. I kept asking him, if I can explain this to you for growth, liquidity, stewardship, those types of topics. It wasn't a Bible conversation, but I said, did I expand your mind to think better? And he kept saying, yes, I'm actually getting, between your ears, like you said, this is expanding in my mind about how I'm thinking about it. I said, great. Well, if you think right, you'll know what to do. I'm just trying to make sure you think well.
Sure. This reminds me of just some of the videos that we're putting out on our YouTube channel. I know you gave the shout out earlier, but that's the Banking Bros YouTube channel. Go search it. Myself, and one of our other coaches, Sean, are making some videos right now where we're running through these 8 different categories. We're calling them the 8 ideals of things you should think about when you're deciding where to put your dollars. And we're talking about things just like that. Is there any liquidity if you put your dollars here as opposed to there? Is there any guarantees if you put your dollars there as opposed to here? Is there flexibility? What about taxes? What about, the rate of return? Like all of these things that you've got to think about. And a lot of people just don't think about it. I've brought up grievances with that sort of idea and topic before. I even mentioned it to someone just a few days ago, this idea of, if you go down the street, in your mall, down your town, in your Sunday service, and you ask people where they're saving for retirement, they'll give you an investment vehicle as an answer. You say, hey, how are you saving for retirement? And they go, oh, I'm using my 401k. Well, a 401k is not a savings vehicle. That's an investment vehicle. But I think people don't realize that it's about your mindset and what you're actually trying to accomplish. You'd figure out very quickly, hold on a second, that's not savings. I'm no smarter than you guys are, but I know for a fact that savings vehicles don't go down or backward. That's not how savings vehicles work, right? So if somebody asked me, well, what are you doing to save for your next house? And I said, Bitcoin to the moon. Like, that's not what they asked you, right? That's like legitimately not what they asked you. So it's just this idea about, but it's between your ears. It's about pay attention, read these books, right? I know you were going to mention the book actually that you're working on or working through or reading right now because you're going to do a little bit of YouTube content on that, yeah?
Yeah, you would call that out. The reason I didn't say it so far is because I can't remember the title.
Oh.
So it is written by a man named Tom McPhee. Shout out to Tom. He's got several books, and I was recently gifted them by an infinite banking coach who's not on our team, but moved to our area in South Carolina recently. And it is really good. And it's very sound, biblically based.
Okay.
He's not trying to convince you of the he's trying to convince you. What he is trying to convince you of is the nature of how the Bible is talking about money.
Okay.
And he is differentiating what is money, what is work, what is savings, what is spending, what is stewardship, what is investing, and does the Bible have any concepts around this?
Gotcha.
Which it's loaded with it. So I'm actually really enjoying the book, and I would not be able to tell by looking at the cover. If you judge the book by its cover, I would not think it was this good, to be honest with you.
Believe it or not, that happens to me all the time. I don't pay attention, and especially I do audiobooks lately.
Yep.
So I don't have any idea what this book is called. All right. I read the title. I read the description. I said, you know what? I think this will be a good one. I'm 12 chapters in. Somebody's like, what do you listen to? Oh, no idea. But it's good. These 12 chapters have been pretty good.
You know, so I have, in the last couple of years, I've decided, I've seen so many less previews. So many fewer. What is it?
Previews?
less or fewer?
I have no idea.
Okay.
What? Not enough. Not
I've
as many
seen
as you used to.
Yeah, I don't watch TV like that, as people say. So I end up going to the streaming channels, the ones that I steal from you or the ones that I have.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh, I like certain genres, so I'm going to go for that genre. For instance, I like to look at the war movies. So I'm going to go click on the war movie, and if you go to Amazon, click on all these war movies, half of them are not in English. First off, they'll put all sorts of stuff up there.
Yep.
I didn't realize that, but I like the genre so well. But I'll start watching it based on how many stars it got, how many Rotten Tomatoes it got, or something like that. I'm like, I'm going to go for it. And you're right. I don't know what the name of it even is.
Nothing.
Yeah.
The streaming services do that to you too.
Yeah.
Because you watch it, you're like, oh, that was really good. Somebody's like, what was it called? No idea. Literally search Amazon, find the one with that actor. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's different because when we grew up, if you guys are old enough, which most of our audience is, whoever's out there listening, you remember when we was growing up, you'd watch trailers for 6 months. So I knew what the name of the movie was. Now, I didn't know that it was a movie last night. I watched it, fell asleep on it, came back, finished it. I don't have a clue what the name of this movie was.
Nope. And they're naming them whatever they want these days. 1917. That's all you get. So tomorrow, and there's another movie, 1916.
And there's a documentary, three levels deep that says, like, here's a documentary on 1916.
I don't know if it was in the 8. It was one of the. You know what? You're just gonna have to. If you come over, it's in my recently watched.
Correct.
You know
there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the, once again, you talked about this, but let's talk about some of the vehicles that Tom throws into his book that we can't remember the name of, around savings vehicles and investing vehicles. Here's what's interesting that I want you to talk about.
Ready.
He brings up several things that I had no idea several years ago that are savings vehicles.
Okay, ready.
So remember, investing vehicles do not give you a guarantee of a return. You can lose your money, lose principal, what you contributed. That's called risk.
Yep.
And there are several different categories of things that I did not know, did not grow up as a finance bro or being taught this in business school. Oh, these are savings vehicles.
I'm ready.
All right, tell us.
I mean, I thought you were going to set me up, but I'd go with savings. So anything you're going to get from a traditional bank. So you can think savings account. Lately, 2025 high yield savings accounts are getting a lot of shine. You can think certificates of deposits, things like that.
That is a savings vehicle.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yep.
So we're going to come off of banks. I might be missing one or two at a traditional bank or credit union. But your whole life insurance is going to qualify as a savings vehicle.
Which I never would have known before we started studying IBC.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have put insurance as a savings vehicle.
I wouldn't have known.
But whole life insurance is going to qualify as a savings vehicle. And then the only other one I can think of is like treasury bonds, I think, is going to qualify as a savings vehicle.
A bond, yep.
Yep.
Yep. So those are, I just wouldn't have known those categories of savings because I would have been defining savings wrong.
Yep.
So I would have gone down this investment hole.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it was really interesting to understand that if you know the differentiation between savings, hoarding, investing, you can properly identify the tools and go, oh, this tool might work for me, or I might want to participate in this tool.
Yep.
So that was interesting to me because I would have always thought that my liquidity and my income was not high enough and was not good enough to even get involved in things like CDs. Because I heard about CDs and I said, well, there's guarantees there. This is like when I'm 20 years old. I can't lose anything, but man, I have to have $5,000, $10,000, and I never had that much money at that time. That's how much money I had total, and it was moving all over the place trying to pay car insurance and these new ideas of paying for your own cell phone.
I knew about CDs. I never used one, but I knew about them, and it wasn't the money thing for me. Well, I also came out of school and was working at a bank, so I had the realization that you don't have to put $5,000 or $10,000 in CDs. But what was interesting to me is I never wanted to lock the money up. The good rates on CDs, the best ones, are when you lock the money up for a year or 2 or 5. You can get CDs for 6 months, but the rates not worth it, not worth your time. So the good rates are when you lock it up for 5 years, and I never wanted to lock it up for 5 years. Even before I knew anything about infinite banking, I was just going, I want to put $5,000 in the 5-year one, but I can't put $5,000 and not come get this for 5 years.
Yeah, because I ain't got no money.
Right.
I ain't got no cash flow. That's always the code I'm trying to crack. But back in my day, do you remember what some of those rates were? Tell us your era, 2015, 2016, working at the bank.
Yeah, but I don't remember. Maybe
what were the rates at that time?
Look it up.
Everybody likes to talk about their era of savings rates, CD rates. Okay, in 2005 and 6 and 7, I'm getting out of school at that time. You could get a CD for 6 months at the Orange Bank. Y'all know what I'm talking about out there? If you are listening to this, it was the Bank of Orange. It had a lion, and it got...
Oh, yeah. ING.
I think it was even something before
ING
that.
Direct.
Yes.
I know you're
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, me and my roommate, we're out here getting 6% on like 6 months on CDs.
That's crazy.
Well, what's crazy about it is how interest rates are going up, but for the last 10 years, you could get 2%. But 10, 20 years before, the ING Direct Bank and 6%, you can get 10, you can get 12, because all our parents talk about, well, heck, I could get 16 back in 1983.
Yeah, 6. It was about 6. It looks like around 2,000 and change for these longer CDs. By the time we hit 2003 or so, we were down to about 4%. And then kind of the highest thing you're going to see from 2010 on was about 2%. So it's going down. I think it's going back up here as of late. We got down pretty low, 0.5, 1, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we're going back up. I think we're back up around 2 or 3 or 4. Again, at some of these online-only banks, no branches around, use everybody else's ATM banks, you could probably get a pretty significant rate right now. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, high-yield savings accounts are coming back with a vengeance right now. Everybody's talking about put it in your high-yield savings. I don't actually, because I don't work at the bank anymore and I don't use high-yield savings accounts, I decided to use my primary savings vehicle as whole life insurance. I don't know the rules around high-yield savings accounts, but you've got to assume that there's flexibility, and liquidity rules. That's why they'd give you the rate. They're going to say, you can put it in here, but it must stay here for X. But I don't know for certain. Maybe
contribution limits on how much you got to put into stardom, stuff like that. But in the world of the internet and all those options, there are a lot of options with some of those things. At this time, we are going to shout out to our fan follow of the week. Natasha Griffin is a recent subscriber to our YouTube community. So welcome, Natasha. Hopefully you're also joining us on Infinite Bankers. We control a Facebook community, and we encourage everybody listening out there, if you have not, you may not get on Facebook like that. People tell me that all the time on the phone. But it's still a great reference point for you. We're doing more and more content there that leads us into our Thursday afternoons, Eastern Time, 12 o'clock. We're going live. It's a cash coaching hour, and some of your questions right there in the channels like Facebook and YouTube are getting answered live by our coaches. So, Natasha, we hope we see you there soon.
Man, so that's just a little bit of some insight into what we've been doing over here. You've got the book you're reading that we'll find the title, probably put it in the show notes.
Tom McPhee, right? I'm trying out here.
Also, the book that I mentioned, Business Secrets from the Bible, written by Rabbi Daniel Lapin also. And what you should do, like Jeremiah mentioned, is check out our YouTube channel, because we're going to have some long-form content, some YouTube-style videos come out about a few of these topics that we're talking about today. So if that's interesting to you and you want to know more about what does the Bible have to say about money, about saving, about investing, about hoarding, about interest, about banks, I mean, it's all in there.
Oh, right? Yeah. So shout out to the parable of the talents. That's what's coming up.
Right.
Very soon.
You should have went and got interest at least. Right?
Don't give it all away. Well, y'all can go look it up.
It's in the Bible. Anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just a little bit of insight into what we've been doing over here, what we've been reading, what we've been learning that we wanted to share with you. So we appreciate you listening or watching. Make sure that you follow us on all of our social channels. Join our Facebook group if you're interested in interacting with us a little bit more personally. But until next time. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer. We taught you how to be the bank.
This has been another episode of the Banking Bros podcast here at the Cash Compound, where we are having code-cracking cash flow conversations with you. In 2025, if you want a different future for yourself and your family forever, we encourage you to be a part of our community, watch our full-length presentation, and talk to one of our coaches absolutely free to get a consultation around where you are and where you want to go.